Are you going to tell us who you're supporting in the leadership?
I'm not, because to me that's not the fundamental issue we're dealing with. We have a constitutional crisis of a scale that has never existed in my life. And the real trauma is that every day that goes past in the boardrooms of the world, and of course this country, decisions are being delayed. And they will go on being delayed until there is a clarity about Britain's economic future. And I'm appalled at the idea that we're going to take months to get to a position where we can decide how to proceed, and then years before we come to a conclusion. And the damage that will do in terms of lost investment and avoided decisions is incalculable.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. So firstly, you would say speed this process up so we get a Prime Minister sooner, correct? I mean, it took 3 days, I think, 5 days when you were competing with John Major for the post-Thatcher position. We're now in a position of 12 weeks or something, aren't we? 10 weeks or something.
12 weeks before we have a Prime Minister, but there is no need for the negotiations to wait, right, because the negotiations will be the same whoever is the leader.
Will they?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean,
but don't we need to Prime Minister to set out their stall as to what our position is?
The stall has been set out by the Europeans. There will be no negotiations until you have triggered clause 50. And this, what is happening, and it's chilling really, because the British people have been sold a deceitful pup. We were told by the Brexit campaign that they'd be all right because the Europeans are desperate to keep us in, and so we'll have a conversation and we'll get a sensible arrangement. The truth is, the Europeans have said, on your bike. You took the trouble to make this decision, we're not negotiating. And every day that passes, the uncertainty prevails.
And this is why you want us to see exactly what out looks like, and then have a second referendum which chooses between in or out again. Is that correct?
I want something just a little different, but fundamentally so. I want to put Boris Johnson and his colleagues in charge of the negotiations. Now, he doesn't need to be the Prime Minister or the leader of the Conservative Party to do that, but he got us into this mess, and he got us into a mess on a range of platitudes about how glorious the alternative future would be. Let him show us what that future is. My own view, it has to be shown, is that it will be totally unattractive to the majority of members of Parliament.
Hence a second referendum at the end.
And so, how do you carry out the will of the people in this referendum, which I believe you should? The only way is to negotiate so that the members of the House of Commons, where sovereignty lies, can come to a judgment about whether they will vote for it. My view is they won't. But they must be given the chance. And when it comes to it, there are only two ways to do that. One is to have a general election. The other is to have a second referendum.
And overturn the first referendum.
To make sure that the will of the people is seen to have moment.
Lord Heseltine, thank you very much.
Thank you.